Hello guys, I was getting ready to go to the gym, but it occurred to me I have so many thoughts in my mind that I want to talk about first before I head into the gym. Now, I was reading these beautiful books last year. I started reading it, but I dropped it. It was really interesting, but I didn't have the desire to finish it. But now this year, I started reading it again. I'm actually at some couple of pages, but it is truly interesting, and I want to talk about some of the things that I've learned in this book so far. And this book is about the whole history of the humanity. And if you are someone who is really deeply interested in the human history, then you better grasp a copy of this book. It is really amazing. It's a few pages, somewhere between 400 pages, but it is really engaging and really interesting, and you don't get bored with it. It's so many things in this book, and one of the way I love this author, Yuval Noah, the way he writes is really intellectually intriguing, and you can have so really fun and good time reading this book. So far, what I've learned in this book is being the beginning of all the beginning. I've actually been researching about different sort of history of the human life, and one of the most compelling one is the one that I found in this book. This book actually doesn't just give you the whole history. It gives you perspective and debates between different theories, and then it's up to you to reason what is the most logical for you according to the facts and the history and theories that are detailed in this book, and just how everything is started, and also the religious text and the contradiction between the whole conventional beliefs and also the scientific belief, and all that are some way really contradicting themselves in very different way when we try to explain the human nature and the human history. And now everything is important to understand the world. I mean, we need the religious beliefs, we need also the scientific corp to understand the world. Now we cannot ignore the religious side of everything. We cannot also ignore the scientific side of it. Here is the tricky part. The people that are mostly averse on the scientific one are more likely to just prefer the religious one. They just want that, and they don't want to look at the other side of the history. But I think for me personally, in my own opinion, every side of history is important into understanding and making your own judgment based upon what you come up with and to judge more logical. So I cannot definitely give you yet a resume of the full book. I'm just at like 100 page. I started reading it last week. I'm just at the 100 page, and I cannot just give you a whole a resume of the book. But so far, what I've learned is really important. Now, one of the things that I know that's truly important first is a different type of revolution that has happened across history, and also different kind of major event that shaped the human life across different part of the globe. Now, one of those first important one was the cognitive revolution. The cognitive revolution just simply means the ability of the human being to create a language and communicate within themselves. Now, in this book, it was specified that when we talk about human being, we are not just talking about us. We as human, like you and I, we are the species sapiens of the genus Homo. I bet you already know that. That's why we are called the Homo sapiens. Homo, which is just the genre, and the sapiens, which is just the species, because we also have a different type of relative that are also part of that Homo. We have the chimps, which are definitely our closest cousins, because the chimps has almost our same DNA, just 1.2% difference in our DNA. I don't know if that percent is right, but it's a very slight percent that we have in difference with the chimps. And also we have the bonobos, we have the We have the other ones, but the chimpanzees are the really closest relative that we have on Earth right now. Now, apart us as humans, as Homo sapiens, that we call the human being today, if we refer to that word, there are also different species of the Homo sapiens that are homos that have lived the planet. We have the Netherlanders, we have the Sedentar, we have different sort of species that also has been on this planet before us or even along us. But what we are really good at as Homo sapiens is actually destroying the other species around the world. When we migrate to a new place, we tend to destroy that environment and make it our own creation. We want to dominate, and actually from the very first start of the human history, the human being like us, the Homo sapiens, were not the top of the food chain. In fact, the lion and all those predators were the top of the chains, and the human being were just a very far from the food chain system. But with the intelligence of the human being, sapiens, as we happen to get the skill set and the competence to transform the whole dynamic of the food chain system, and then now we are the top of this food chain, and we can control the lions, we can control even the wildest animal on earth, we can control their habitats, and we can impact them. And in fact, their existence depends on our desire. In fact, if we decide today to launch a nuclear weapon, then everything can be destroyed, including us as human beings, as ourselves. So it is really critical how the future of these planets now depend of these very frail looking species like us that have now dominated the whole planet, and that we take control of this, and even we are trying to migrate to new horizon like a Mars, Moon, and different type of planets that you can name or you can think about. And now the migration from the human species from the Sahara of in Africa to different type of continents has happened across millions of years. First, the human species of sapiens has first evolved from Africa to Australia, from which, because in that portion of the world they were there because it was best suited for them, but they migrate towards the Asia. That's why we call it Afro-Asia. Well, before everything was so close, the land was close to each other, and due to the rise of the sea levels, the lands just get separated, and we have different type of lands now. The continents are separated between themselves, but basically from the beginning it wasn't that way. It was really close to each other, and then the first human being evolved across the ocean. There are some of them that were fisher that has the capacity and the skill set to navigate on the seas, and they had the possibility and they have the ability to move towards new horizon like Australia. And as I was reading the book, I was trying first to understand what was going on in the mind of those earlier human beings to want to move. What did they think? I mean, how did they know that something or a land earth exists above or in the other side of the water? And that was a curious thing for me, because human being has been always curious. It is in our nature to be curious, to want more. I don't know if these were the region condition that led them to want to explore for more, or if it was just the desire to explore more of the planet on which they were. I don't have any idea, but in the book there were some sort of theories in the book that talk about that. But it's up to us as the readers to now decide what we truly believe in and what we think is the logical theory that explain that kind of migration. But now here's the thing: when the first human being migrated to the Australia were not habitated in that point by Homo sapiens. Of course, it was habitated by different type of animals, like the very biggest animal on earth that you can think about, the kangaroos and the Trinodors, the big lions, and every big and the bigger sloths on the earth were in Australia. But again, when the first human being arrived there, everything went extinct. Now, in that part of the world, the author has argued that there are different type of theory that explain because of the change of climate that happened around that time. That was 75,000 years ago. That climate change has caused those experts to go extinct. Then the author argued again that this animal, this species, has survived on that part of the world for millions of years before the human being arrived there. And then how does it mean that just because the coincidentally that they come, then the species just go extinct? Then it's probably that the human being is just the serial killer of the ecology, and that's what we do. And if it was just a random fact in Australia, it could be different. But then the human being migrated to the New Zealand, which is the first Mario settler in the New Zealand. I mean, the first human being that went to New Zealand are called Marios. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but I think I will check it later. And everything also there, the megafauna also destroyed, and then the first human being also moved to Siberia in Russia, in the modern Russia, in the modern Siberia, and from there they moved to Alaska. In those part of the world, they were finding mammoths and bigger other sort of animals that they were hunting. And the thing that allowed these humans first to hunt those big games were first the capability that they developed first from the cognitive revolution to be able to talk within themselves and plan and also strategize their way out in the jungle. And then they can dominate even the biggest and dangerous and fierce animals in the jungle while being the smallest on earth. By just being strategically competent, human beings also discover the fire. And they were doing also the fire agriculture. They were just burning everything. Like they just put fire in the biggest jungle and the animals died. It was very easy for them to kill the animal and to eat and feed themselves. And in the north part of the world, in the Siberia, into the America, it was the coldest region on earth. But because they were also skilled, they develop really different tools that they could use in those kind of environment, because before them no human being ever has settled and moved into those part of the world. And as they move north, as they move even further into the north, more they become stronger, skillful, and then also more they become good at hunting bigger game. And that's how they evolve into the Americas, and some settled in the in the north part of America, and those on others went down to the south part of the America in Argentina, and some in the southern part of Argentina that's called I don't remember the name, but it is just I think it is the last point on earth in that part of the Argentina. That's just called the Fuego, or the Rio de Fuego, something like that. Well, they just moved around the world and colonized every part of the world, and that's how we migrated into the world. And the earlier ones has also migrated to Europe and to Asia. And also we have seen that different type of species were also in different part of the world as they were migrating. When they come first to Europe, they destroy the other species of almost that were there, and they replaced them. Along the way, there were no other species than us. Now we have today on history, we human being evolved from a very single father and mother. Let's you might call it Adam or ever, or it might be from an apple. But we are from a primate, a single primate household. There may be, I don't know what says they are, but we come from them, and then we are divided into different of those. And there was a question that we were trying to answer a time ago, and most people, for instance, don't understand why some people in some part of the world are black and in some other are white. Not really white, but you know, a different color. That is explained mainly in Africa and in the tropical area because of the sun, and the dark skin is caused by the melanin in the skin. This means in the tropical region, when there is too much sun, when we have sun on our body, we tend, I mean, the body necessarily needs some amount of melanin from the sun. But when that is too much, the body use the extra to cover the organism use the extra to cover the body to protect it against the extra coming in. So that forms a black skin that is strong enough to adapt to that kind of environment. And one of the things that we've noticed more is the capacity of the human being to adapt, to evolve, and to adapting and evolving condition across the earth. And those moving north into the coldest region on earth has to adapt their skin as well to that temperature, because there is no sun in there. They have to remove all kind of melanin from their skin to extract the little bit of sun that they can get into from the skin, from the sky. And that's how their body color just gets brighter and brighter. That's one theory of it. There might be also some genetic cause for that. I don't know them, but that is one theory I know about the skin color and about the hair as well. So that is one. Ladies and gentlemen, that is first. Now we have, I mean, this book is so dense, there's so much thing to it. If you want to learn about history, I think this is one of the best book. Eventually it's recommended by the greatest, I mean, some of the greatest people in the world. It's it's recommended by Bill Gates, Barack Obama, and different people as well. If you're interested in learning about history, I mean, just get a copy of this book and yeah, enjoy yourself. I hope that you tell me also what you like about this book and explain to me what part is most interesting in this book and what I should not, you know, definitely forget about reading this book. So that was it. Now I'm going to the gym. Thank you.